We were here this time, I think, last year, and it's really a delight to be back here again this year. So thank you, Netia, for inviting us back. Sadly, in the year, my Polish has not improved at all. It's too bad. Apparently, we've been told now that it's the #1 most difficult language to learn. And Chinese is only like the fifth
5 or 6, yeah.
most difficult language, right? So
you should have no
I thought I had a head start, but
it,
you know,
right?
but I don't. Okay. So first thing this morning, right? It was about 8 o'clock this morning.
Yep.
Yeah, it was about 8 o'clock, and we came in here to test the sound. And after we tested the sound, we were on the escalator down, and we saw one of our Netia colleagues from way back, Pavel, and he said, "What are you doing here?" Yeah.
We came for lunch.
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, what are we doing here? In fact, what am I doing here, and what are we doing here in this conference? And this is exactly what we're going to be talking about in the next 23 minutes, apparently.
In fact, if I could say, that's actually a question that we think is an important question to ask throughout your life, is what are we doing here? But that's another workshop for another time.
Yeah. And the whole point is, you know, I thought it was a technology conference, but somebody told me maybe it's not, so. But let's say it's a technology conference. And so it's a great question, isn't it? Why are we here in person? Since it's a technology conference, why isn't this delivered purely through the internet? So what is the point in us being in the same place, roughly at the same time, together? So that's what we're hoping to explore. It's also a milestone in my personal life, because my father, who is age 77, he has decided to hook up on the internet. He has resisted, right, for years and years and years. He said, I don't need it, it's too much information, it will just tell me why I'm sick and all this stuff, right? And then suddenly he's been persuaded now to be on the internet. So, so he's now really wowed by Google, and he's saying, wow, there's so much information out there, you know? And so for a change, this is also for my dad, because I think now he can sort of Google this conference, and hopefully he'll be able to see me in action. So before we started here, I asked Sebastian, the cameraman, whether it's possible for him to just, you know, have a couple of shots of the audience, just in case he doesn't believe that I was actually, you know, in front of a conference speaking to, you know, people in the audience.
Yeah, that's great, yeah.
So here's one for my dad. Daddy, 喂，終於你而家開始喺上網啦。I can't believe it, huh? So this is for my dad. All right. So what we want to do now is to start our presentation, and we hope that it's going to be a great session for all of us. So we're going to start by showing you a video from nowhere other than YouTube. And some of you may have seen this before. It's amazing, huh? So just in case you missed where it came from, is Eric Qualman, who's advertised like his name, yes?
Very clever marketing on his part, yeah.
And it's stunning, isn't it? So some of the statistics is really shocking. For those of us who don't know who Justin Bieber is, I mean, it really is, you know, it's shocking to me how popular they are. So I think what we're saying is, you know, technology is everywhere, social media is everywhere, and the proliferation of social media, it is just around now. The word is ubiquitous, it's all around us, and we don't even really think about it anymore. So the question is not whether technology is good or bad, technology just is. And the question we're asking ourselves is, well, what does that say about us, actually? And what does it say about how we have relationships and the kind of relationships we have, either via the media or in person? So that's what we're getting on to next. So here it is, all right? So a quiz for you. Here you go. And this is a little test, okay? Just to see how ubiquitous, how common technology is. And I happen to have two phones here. So this one is my UK phone. And for those of you who are very technology biased, this is a very old Nokia phone.
Oh, so you can hold
okay, so my friends from the technology world, particularly devices world, look away now. And here is a smartphone or an iPhone, as you can see. All right, so we're going to have quizzes for each of the different populations of people. So how many people here, hands up, who's got one of these older phones?
Great.
Fantastic, thank you. I feel I'm not alone.
All,
you know,
all six or seven of you.
Six or seven of us, you know. Sometimes when I pull this out of the bag, you know, I have to be kind of really careful, you know. Exactly. I mean, I don't think that, but thank you for being part of my gang. So these are the questions for you. Okay, so for us, for regular mobile phone users. Okay, here's the question: which of these does not belong to the rest? 831 459 121 143. All right. And then the next set of questions for the smartphone users.
Hold up your. How many people have smartphones?
How many people have smartphones?
Okay.
Fabulous.
How many of you have neither? Wow.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. ESP, yeah, works every time. So for smartphone users, again, the question is, which one does not belong? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, so very quickly, turn to the person next to you, whether you're using this phone or this phone, and just talk to the person next to you to say which one does not belong.
And
okay?
why?
And why?
Why do you say that?
Okay, 3, 2, 1, off you go.
1 minute, ready, go.
Or even less than a minute. Okay, ready? All right, so the first set of questions for regular mobile phone users, 831 459 121 143. What is the answer? Which one does not belong to the rest? C, 121. Why?
Lechego.
I love your logic. Is the right answer not exactly the right reason? Okay, so
but actually, I mean that works. We just had another difference.
And I really admire you as well for speaking out in the audience. That's not very Polish. You know, we love that. Okay, we love it. Okay, guy at the back there. You know, okay, guys, I absolutely, fabulous. You know, we could do with having you in our company because you're so analytical and we're not.
Good with numbers. We need that.
We are
really
simple.
Need that.
We are simple people, okay? All right, so we are simple. We're about, you know, just feelings and stuff like that. So, so the answer actually is C. And why is that? Because 8314559 and 143 are all different ways to say, I love you.
Okay, explain 831 then.
Okay, so we only have 12 minutes left.
I know, but it's fine.
So for smartphone users then, A, B, C, or D, which one is the odd one out? B?
Oh, we got a,
Which one? D, okay. So the lady there in the chair, number 8, why? Why D?
Yeah.
Yes, you. Yes, yeah, that's it. Okay, so all the other words are phrases. And I asked my Polish colleagues, right, do you have the equivalent in Polish? And apparently not. Everybody types LOL. Is that right?
LOL is LOL.
Laugh out
right.
loud, yeah, okay. So it's all around us, and it's kind of international, it crosses borders. And this is how, you know, endemic it is. Online dating, interesting, right? So in the statistics, 1 in 5, is it? But that's only in America, surely, right? So is online dating popular in Poland? Yeah. Not that we would admit it. No.
We would ask you to raise your hands, but you know, it's...
but we won't. Okay. And so the question is, right, we might date somebody online. Will we marry somebody just using online? Maybe. Oh, okay. In the minority. Apparently, LinkedIn now it has become the recruitment engine. So again, the question is, right, how many of us will recruit purely online? Like
we're not talking marriage now. We're talking about recruiting.
You know,
workplace
but it's a
recruiting.
kind of marriage. It's a kind of marriage.
Workplace recruiting.
Yeah. So how many of us, again, how many of us will just hire somebody purely online?
Like
and
you
that's
might recruit.
interesting.
You might recruit with Twitter, but would you hire someone just on the basis of Twitter? You know?
Or LinkedIn.
Or LinkedIn.
All right. So there is something, isn't it, interesting about the in-person that is wholly and qualitatively different. But what we're interested in is, like, what is it? Why bother with it? LinkedIn, then, since it's so topical. So this is John's page. I'm still trying to catch up with hitting the 500 plus mark. So how many people are on LinkedIn here? Hands up.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. In the majority. Great. So on the next slide is how many LinkedIn connections do you have? So hands up. 100. 200. 300. 400. 500.
No.
Okay.
I'm the only one on your page.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next question is, how many people that you're connected with do you email on a weekly basis? Next question, how many people that you're connected with on LinkedIn do you speak with on a weekly basis? How many do you Skype with? And how many do you meet face-to-face on a weekly basis? And crucially, how many of these people that we're connected with will we actually reach out in a crisis? So we are connected to a huge amount of people. And the question for us is, and what is the nature of those relationships? And in fact, will we even call those relationships at all? So that's what we're interested in. So we're wondering out loud with you here, we're wondering whether online and social media exchanges are now being a substitute for something else. So the key question is, maybe it's a substitute for deeper kinds of interaction, or maybe knowing about somebody has become a substitute for really knowing them. So these are open questions, right, from our point of view.
Thinking about knowing someone or something, there are two very different worlds, very different languages to describe that. There's the Greek concept of knowing, the word gnosis. We get the word agnostic from that. It means someone who doesn't know. To know something in the Greek is more objective, more scientific. If I want to get to know this clicker here in the Greek sense, I would put it down and I would get its color and shape, its weight. I would use scientific measurements to describe it, but I would not want to get involved with it, because as soon as I start having feelings about the clicker, you know, the Greek word, so now you begin to alter or distort the data. You got that concept? But there's this is from the Bible as well. There's a Hebraic or Aramaic way of knowing, just the opposite. The only way that I can really get to know this from that point of view is to interact with it, is to decide, how do I feel about this clicker? Okay? This is two very different worlds. Both are necessary. Both are. In fact, I think the dating process is starting out with the Greek, you know, oh, yeah, he or she looks
Hi,
kind of
yeah.
nice. You know, no, no, no. And then, oh, I like this clicker a lot, you know. So there's a kind of a movement from the Greek to the Hebrew in terms of knowing. Which one does the internet give us? See, that's the question. How much of this intimate knowing is possible on the internet? There's a hierarchy of effectiveness. There's a kind of a ladder, if you think about it. At the top of the ladder, there's one-to-one relationships. You're sitting there with someone, you're talking with them. There's a certain kind of effectiveness or depth that can occur there. A small group is like the next level. Sometimes a small group is even richer in some ways than the one-to-one because you have more points of view. You have more energy being exchanged. Then a large group like this. This is a large group experience. We're here, we're in the room together. It's not like one-to-one, but there's something happening here. You're getting something in this exchange that you wouldn't get if this was virtual, if we were Skyping now. Then there's the Skype call. Now, lots of things happen on Skype. We have a lot of meetings via Skype. Then there's the phone call. So it's getting a little, now we have less data. We only have voice. Then we have a personal email is next in terms of it's like I send you a personal email. You have my words, but you don't have my tone of voice or any of those kinds of things. And then there's a group email that goes out to more than one person again. And then you have the Facebook, LinkedIn, and then finally you have something like Twitter, which is what, 100 and how many characters is it? 150 characters. I got to say everything I want to say to you in 150 characters. What happens is there's this continuum that has your mass impact and your personal impact. And these kind of work in an inverse relationship. It seems like the more intimate relationship, the more one-on-one impact I have, the less reach I have. The more reach I have, the less one-on-one impact that we have.
Yeah, and here's a really, really crucial point to take away from today. What we wanted to say is, right, when technology really wasn't so, available or developed, technology at one point in our lives was at premium. These days, because so much is available, we think that the in-person, you have such a nice face. So the in-person, the person-to-person, this is the premium now. And it's such a rare thing, right? So here we are with a story that my father has now finally linked up on the internet, right? So you would have thought that, theoretically speaking, I do not need to fly and see him anymore. I can just handle everything by Skype and by phone call, right? But, that would be a little bit sad, wouldn't it? That I can't even, find the time to fly to Canada to see my dad, who is 77. So there is something now about the FaceTime, about the high touch, about the in-person connection and the contact that is now, for us, is a premium. And so, hello. So conferences like this, we're saying, is a very rare opportunity. It is a rare opportunity for us to make some kind of deeper connection. I'm already married, but otherwise.
She's expensive. You might want to think about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. No.
Janky.
He is the nicest man ever. Thank you.
Okay, you ready? You're good. You're on.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. You've seen this before, many of you. When we're talking or interacting, whether it's via Twitter or whether it's face-to-face, there's the content, what we're talking about. If you had a transcript, if you just took the words and wrote the words down, that would be what the conversation was about. But then, as we say, below the waterline, in the world of interaction, that's where you have the process. You have feelings. There's how you're interacting. What is getting exchanged between human beings? In a meeting, you can get a transcript of the meeting and read it, and it sounds like, oh, that was pretty good. But if you were in the meeting, you would hear the tones of voice. You would hear like I always said, like when you get the minutes of the meeting, it's like a ping pong ball, like a table tennis. But if you were in the room, you'd hear the bowling balls rolling back and forth underneath the table, all the feelings of trust, mistrust, and so forth that happen there. Both are happening at the same time. When we're twittering or using other kinds of online media, we don't have access to the sort of that stuff that's going on below the waterline. Here's what... This means that in our face-to-face interactions, we need to consciously, intentionally be reaching for things that don't come naturally. We're so used to now on the media just talking and thinking that what we're doing is giving people information. When we are face-to-face, you need to be reaching for something like authenticity. How many times have you gotten an email and you've had a sense that there was something going on in the email that you couldn't quite put your finger on? Have you had that experience? Yeah, like, is this person telling me the truth or not, right? What's real here? If you were face-to-face, you'd have a little more information. Uniqueness. What is unique about this that couldn't be in anybody else's email? And then we're actually sharing some kind of energy that's really hard to name. If we had more time, we'd ask you to talk about what do you think it is that's present in face-to-face that's not present elsewhere? When you are in person, what are you doing with each other? Are you having a discussion? Interesting enough, that comes from the word discus, like that. And it literally means to shake or to tremble. So when people are having a discussion, literally, they're throwing objects at each other, hoping to have impact, hoping to shake the other person in some way. Or are you having a dialogue? Diameter, logos, words that go through the center of who you are? Or are you having a conversation? The word in math, converse, means the opposite. If this, then that. In a conversation, you're actually able to entertain the possibility of the opposite of what you walked in with. Hard to do in an email exchange. A great psychologist years ago named Robert Karkoff came up with what he called the 7 core conditions of what he called the healthy relationship. And think about these now as I go through them quickly. To what extent are these present in your most important relationships? And how hard or easy is it to experience these online? First is empathy. It certainly is possible if, like for instance, if someone has a problem or has a death in the family, it's easy to send them, it is possible to send them a message where you empathize with them, you feel with them. Respect. Can you communicate to the other person, I acknowledge and honor you right just the way you are. You're okay just the way you are. Then there's genuineness, like authenticity, realness, and so forth. The fourth one is concreteness. Specificity, not talking in abstractions, but being direct with this person about something concrete. Self-disclosure. This is what's happening in my life. This is what happened to me in that meeting. This is how I feel about that product. These are my thoughts about that decision. Self-disclosure. Then there's immediacy. Right now in this conversation, you're doing that same thing that you do all the time, or here's something that's happening right now between us that I want to call our attention to. And finally, trust, which is the bottom line for everything. That trust is the measure of bandwidth, as we say, to use a term from technology. How much trust you have with this person in this relationship. That's the bandwidth across which everything has to happen. The less bandwidth you have, the less trust you have, the more difficult it is to deal with things that when they aren't working. So, how do we do this? So what is it? What is it that's possible between two human beings that's not possible on the internet? We want to raise the question for you. We've been talking about this for weeks, and I don't think it's easy, but there's something, you can call it the spirit, the energy, there's something more. You know it, we know it, you can sense it, you can feel it, and you can't name it. In fact, as soon as we name it, it's not it. There's something that goes on between us. So we want you to try an experiment. You're not working? Okay. We want you to exchange business cards with the person sitting next to you. Okay? If you don't have a business card, just pretend. Go to marketing and pick some up. And when you do that, instead of doing what you normally do, here's the catch. Instead of just exchanging the business card, do something or say something that is unique, that is a piece of who you are, that is something different than what you would normally do, that shares something of the essence of who you are with this person as you exchange the card, okay? 2 minutes, an experiment, try it out. 2 minutes, exchange business cards, and then exchange something more than just talking about who you are and what you do. Ready, go. 2 minutes. Do you want to speak into that?
No, it's working now.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. Let me go and speak to that man up there.
Okay. You know, we're over 2 minutes now. Okay. So how did that go? Did it go okay, Nejle? Is it okay? Amy's going to interview somebody. Sebastian, Amy's going to interview somebody back there. See if you can pick that up. Sebastian, is możliwe? No? Okay. Amy, you're on. Amy just picked somebody out and said, I'm going to go interview that person. All right, let me ask you a question while this is happening. Raise your hand if this was a little bit awkward. A little bit awkward. Yeah. Raise your hand if once you got started, it was a little bit interesting. Aha, okay. So what that tells me is that even though something may be a little awkward at the beginning, if we get on the other side of that awkwardness, there might be something more for you on the other side of the awkwardness. So here's the bottom line to our session here. Remember this, when you are face to face with someone, go for the premium, go for the more. Consciously ask yourself, what is it that could happen here that now that we're face to face that might not be possible if we were going to Twitter each other about this or email each other about this? Email and all, the internet is absolutely essential. We couldn't exist without the internet. But what is it that we can't exist without that might happen face to face? So every time you're face to face, realize this is a privilege. This is now an honor. This is now something that is very, very special. How can I participate in that specialness? We're going to give you 2 or 3 minutes for questions, but let us thank you right now for inviting us to kind of raise this question with you, and then we'll receive your questions and talk to you. Thank you for this. Okay, thoughts, questions, reactions. Do you have any tak alles? Yes, but this. What would you like to say? Okay, great. We'll take that as a. Here's something we do after meetings with our clients. We ask people to rate. We ask people to rate the meeting, and we do it in 2 areas. First, the information above the waterline. How interesting was the information? Okay, and it's from 1 to 5. 1 is, what a waste of time. Wish I'd stayed at lunch. Okay, 5 is, wow, that was interesting. That's really amazing. Now, even though this is in Europe, 5s are okay. It's okay for it to be a 5. Okay. And then below the waterline, how was the energy? How was the feeling tone? What did it feel like to be in this experience? Okay, 1 to 5. We'll do it first above and then below. Okay, first of all, information. You ready? Get your hands ready. And you're going to throw your fingers. Jeden, dva, trzy. Throw out your fingers. Okay, 4, 5, 2. Great. Love to talk to you after this. 5. There's in the back. There's a 1 in the back. You need to be down here in the front. You probably couldn't hear. Okay, below the waterline, energy, feeling tone, jeden, dva, trzy. Okay, 4, 5. Oh, the 2 on content had a 5 on below the waterline. This is interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Good. By the way, if this is all you did at your meetings, at the end of your meeting for 30 seconds and talk about the scores, you would improve the interactivity, the preciousness, the premium of why you're in the room together. Seriously, any thoughts? Any questions? Comments, please. Proszę.
Do you think that this in-person communication will be less important with the advance of the technology?
It'll become more important and more difficult. Amy, tell them about the research. We don't think that it's going to be possible to transmit that more over a binary system.
Like having sensors on your head, and if the text is positively energetic, then the text will be green.
Great suggestion. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But Amy, do you want to say something about that research, about what's happening to the neural pathways?
Can you hear me now? Right, okay. So there's a piece of research, and apologies, I can't think off the top of my head, you know, who did this piece of research, but they had two groups of people, and one group could use the internet like really well, the other group couldn't, and they looked at the brain patterns, and they measured like the brain activity for the group that was really great internet users. So the group that didn't know how to use the internet, they were trained to use the internet, and then only a week later they were remeasured. And it was found that the brain patterns have changed, and the location of the brain where it's active has changed. And what they're saying now is that, you know, it's possible that with the advance of technology taking over so many aspects of our interactions, that we are losing the ability to interact socially in person. We're losing that skill to do the actual instant in-person interaction. And that is quite a frightening thought, isn't it? Because of the anonymity of the internet, we can pretty much say anything.
Safer and easier.
And it's much safer. So that it asks a lot of questions now about, you know, what does it say about us, really? And what does it say about the relationships we want with other people? From my point of view, from our point of view, you know, the advance of technology actually means that the in-person is much more important. This is why we say it places the in-person at a premium now.
So when you're face-to-face, seize the time to practice that muscle, because that muscle may be atrophying. I wonder what our children and grandchildren, you know, that's what's intriguing me. What will my grandsons be like when it comes to this? We need to go. We're 9 minutes over here. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry,
got one more here. Sure.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very precious.
You want to sing? Anything?
No. It's just. I would like to ask you a question about the messaging congestion. I have been contacting with my clients for something like 9 years already. Yeah? And when I started with pure emailing and cold calling or phone calling. After some time, I just noticed that emails just forget that someone will answer you. So you started with 20 emails a day. Now you have 300 emails a day, what was discussed during the debate. Now I can feel like I will receive response just immediately when I send it through the social, through LinkedIn or Facebook. Some time ago, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I could receive the response from SMS communication. Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They stopped.
So what are you going to have to do now, do you think?
Yeah. So have you done any research on what's next when Facebook or LinkedIn will face a congestion? Yeah.
I haven't done any research as such. We're suggesting that, again, it is back to this thing, which is about it just raises the premium, the value of the in-person moments, the in-person meetings. This is the last story, right? So it is a real story. It happened last week. We were meeting somebody who was flying back from Copenhagen. And we said, well, you know, you're flying, so maybe it will just be easier if we spoke on Skype. And the person said, you know what, this is so important. I'm going to take a flight. Instead of flying directly into Warsaw, we're taking a flight via Krakow, so we can meet in person before I fly to Warszawa. And for us, it was like, wow. And that meeting just took on a whole different quality and importance than ever before, yeah. So that's my answer, really.
So celebrate when you're face-to-face.
Yeah, celebrate
Practice
this.
the muscle of sharing more of who you are with each other, and make sure that you're balancing out your skill. Otherwise, you're going to be great on Twitter, and nobody's going to want to be with you. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah, that will never happen, of course. Thank you, folks. Thank you for coming.